There's a quote that gets bandied around a lot in sci-fi fantasy spaces that reads, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown." Now, while this quote is typically used against the backdrop of films like Alien or Event Horizon, I would argue that it doesn't have to reference such overtly terrifying material. In fact, it's as I was watching Dune Part 1 for the umpteenth time, it's become one of my favorite sci-fi movies, that I realized this quote can be applied to Denis Villeneuve's adaptation in numerous and almost imperceivable ways. So join me as we take a quick look at how Dune Part 1 uses the fear of the unknown to pull its audience deeper into its universe. First things first, I have a bit of a disclaimer. I am not saying that Dune is some hidden horror movie, nor is it meant to be. It is an adaptation of a brilliant book that takes the concept of the space opera to new heights and has influenced more science fiction than almost any other book in human history. But what I am saying is that there's an undercurrent of otherworldliness that I experienced while watching this film that consistently reinforced the fact that I know nothing about this world, or the people that live in it. And while I may not have been overtly terrified, it kept me on edge enough that it left me feeling off. In the best possible way, mind you. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. As anyone even remotely plugged into cinema can tell you, costuming is one of the most important parts of filmmaking. It reveals things about the character who put those clothes on, the life they lived, the way they feel, the decisions they made when they bought them. But with Dune, the costuming all comes down to one thing: reinforcing to the audience that this is not their world. And the primary way they do that is through the use of silhouette. Most of the time in a film, you get one or two characters that you can identify by silhouette only. Darth Vader, the Wicked Witch, Count Orlok, and the original Nosferatu, all instantly recognizable. In Dune, the silhouettes are not used to denote a person, but rather a whole faction, a class of human being, with each one looking like a piece on a chessboard. To start, let's take a look at the Guild Navigators, the faction that actually inspired this video. Now, these guys are not really mentioned in the film except in passing when Thufir Hawat lists off the price tag to hire them. But they are, without a doubt, the most important beings in the Dune universe. No one goes anywhere without these guys giving the ominous dominus. As such, in Dune society, they are accorded an almost religious status, and this is reflected in their clothing. Richly embroidered though they may be, the various white tones all blend together to create a unique, almost statuesque figure that is instantly recognizable. Add in the staves they carry and the gold of their faceplates. Yes, I know it's a spice bath they're in, and you've got an image that wouldn't feel out of place sitting in the halls of the Vatican. Next, we've got the Bene Gesserit. On the surface, it seems like they're simply wearing black robes. No big deal, right? But if we take a look at the headdresses they wear, we can see that they're designed not only for the unique silhouette they create, but for the psychological impact they have. As a general rule, women are of a smaller stature than men, which can lead to perceived power imbalances between the sexes. The Bene Gesserit use these pieces of clothing to equalize that imbalance, as well as establish their authority. The eye is naturally drawn up to the top of the piece, which is going to be looking down at you.
Welcome to the, I am, security, welcome to the...
Even I, as an audience member, caught myself looking at the top of the headdress a couple of times, rather than the face of the person wearing it. Immediately identifiable, psychologically impactful. In these two examples alone, Dune imparts the knowledge that, yes, they are humans, but not humans as we know them. They represent strange unknowns that we are invited to learn more about. Even the Fremen stillsuits, the most human-looking of all the silhouettes in this movie, are still designed to look like exposed musculature beneath the thin robes that they wear. Yes, it's human, but not one that we would understand. Finally, we've got whatever the hell this thing is. Now, for the entirety of the film's runtime up to this point, we've been conditioned to pay attention to silhouette. It informs characters, status, affiliations, and ideologies. Then this thing pops up. We don't know what it is, where it came from, or what it's supposed to do. All we can see is its shiny black silhouette against a grayscale background, completely jarring us out of the complacent idea that we now understand this universe. It's the equivalent of a jump scare that very effectively recenters the audience's attention to what's happening on screen, and it's played to utter perfection by the cast. They know what this thing is, they know what it can and cannot do, and while we, the audience, might be wondering what the hell it is because it's terrifying, it is somehow beneath the notice of the on-screen characters, with the Reverend Mother ordering it out of the room without even looking at it. The fear of the unknown, am I right? Another concept that filmmakers use to reinforce otherworldliness is through the use of scale. If we take a look at IP like Star Wars or Warhammer 40k, we see these massive projects purpose-built to boggle the mind. Death Stars and Blackstone fortresses floating through space at a scale that an average human can't really conceive of, unless you give the audience a way to scale them to something they can conceive of. An example of this can be found within the first 5 minutes of Dune, and it perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. To start with, we've got the Harkonnen soldiers in formation. We can see they're roughly average sized, and this allows us to understand the overall size of the unit. Then the formation begins to move into a waiting ship. The relative size of the formation, which we can understand, gives us a frame of reference for the scale of the ship. The cameras then pull back further to reveal multiples of these ships, all waiting to finish embarkation. Finally, we're shown a dozen or so of these ships in scale to Arrakis itself, and the true size of the Dune universe is hinted at. This concept also works in reverse, like when the Imperial agents land on Caladan. We see the wormhole generator, or at least I'm assuming that's what it is, in orbit above the planet. We understand that this thing is truly gargantuan, but we can't really conceive of its size since things like that don't exist in our world. Then a small little dot flies out of it, heading for the surface. Cut to the Atreides in formation, and we see that the little dot is about to land. It's only then that the size of the ship is revealed, which completely dwarfs the 1,000+ soldiers assembled and waiting. Trace this line back to the wormhole generator, and we maybe kind of get an idea of how large that damn thing truly is. Once again, it's a universe filled with humans, but not humans we would be able to comprehend. I hesitated to add this section to the video since I have no evidence to back up what I'm saying beyond the visuals presented, but to hell with it, it's my channel. One of the things that I noticed about the palace in Arrakis is how precisely it was created. Precision in and of itself is no big deal, since humans have been building gigantic structures since time immemorial. But it's the how behind its construction that loops back to our concept of otherworldliness. If we look at the walls of the palace, we can see thinnish stone slabs layered on top of one another, with the rooms built almost through the stone. Later on in the movie, we see the Sardaukar using a handheld laser to cut through the door that Paul and Lady Jessica are hiding behind like a knife through butter. And that kind of got me thinking, is that how the palace was created? Heavy-duty construction lasers just vaporizing the rock, leaving nothing but an empty room behind? We also see this weird wave pattern in the walls, like they were hit with extreme heat that melted extraneous material away, leaving behind precisely machined rooms. Even the science outpost at the tail end of the film uses this same pattern, layered rock which has then been precisely sheared away. Gentle slopes built at precise angles using building materials that we can barely work with in our time. It's a minor detail, but once again it speaks to the otherworldliness of this universe, and the fact that their science has evolved such that it has finally become indistinguishable from magic. It should go without saying at this point, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you haven't seen Denis Villeneuve's Dune adaptations, you are doing yourself a disservice, and you should definitely carve out a couple hours of your life to do so. The care that the production team took to ensure their audience was firmly centered in the universe, all the while still maintaining its mystery, was an incredible sight to behold. Everything from showing how the personal shields work rather than telling, to the way they costumed the characters, to how they gave us an inkling as to the true scale of the world, shows a dedication to craft that you really don't see a lot these days. And I'll tell you what, the more I watch these movies, the more excited I get for Messiah. Anyway, that's all I've got for you this time, so if you could do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons, I'd really appreciate it. Every little bit really helps me out. Also, head down to the comments and let me know if there's anything you guys would like to see me cover in the future. And while you're at it, go ahead and take a look at the other videos on my channel, or hit up my website to see my blog and maybe check out one of my books on Amazon. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.